drop with Greg Smith in the fall. But look, there's nothing that Greg Smith said in his now famous op-ed in the New York Times that hadn't been said already before by other clients, by people who I quoted in my book. I mean, I think the difference here is that he worked there for 12 years and then decided to go public about some of his thoughts. Look, I think the happiest man, and I just saw Lloyd Blankfein yesterday in New York. I think the happiest man in New York these days is Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, because the attention of the media and the financial press and the regulators is now in Washington is now turned to Jamie Dimon and what happened with the big trading loss at Jamie Dimon, and the attention and focus is off Goldman Sachs. So I think Goldman Sachs is going to go back to trying to make as much money as they possibly can, given the new regulations. And Lloyd Blankfein will probably, in the next few years, look for a way to gracefully exit the firm and anoint a new generation of leaders at Goldman Sachs. Well, in my view, nothing has changed on Wall Street as a result of this crisis. I think people are pretty simple. They do what they're rewarded to do, and on Wall Street, they're rewarded to make big bets with other people's money. They're rewarded to try to generate as much revenue as they possibly can because that's how they get big bonuses. And nothing has changed on Wall Street as a result of this crisis. So what you had with the Facebook IPO is another example of Wall Street banks trying to generate as much fee money as they possibly can from underwriting this IPO. This was an IPO that was hyped from the beginning. At least for the last 2 years, people have been talking about this IPO and have been quote unquote hyping it. Remember, Goldman Sachs invested in Facebook in January 2011 at a $50 billion valuation. I didn't understand that valuation at 50 billion. And then when it went public at 100 billion, I didn't understand that valuation either. I suspect that even at $27, $28 a share, which is obviously down from the IPO price, Facebook is still overvalued. I don't understand where all these people are getting so excited about what Facebook can do. But what you see here is a classic example of the Wall Street hype machine and the poor individual investors who are buying into it and believing that they're going to get rich quick. It just goes back to the fact that things just have not changed on Wall Street, and we need a total revamp of the way some things are done on Wall Street, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. And it's very, very frustrating for me because I see the importance of Wall Street. I understand its role in the world economy, and I don't like it when I see it malfunctioning on a continuous basis. Well, I think this is you've hit on a central problem for the financial industry. It used to be easy for them to attract the best and the brightest by offering promises of big bonuses relatively quickly. I still think that as a relative matter, Wall Street is still able to pay higher than most other professions. As a relative matter, Wall Street continues to do some hiring. They do a lot of firing, but they do some hiring down at the bottom of the pyramid. So I still think it's going to be a profession for better or for worse, that still will attract the best and the brightest. But as a long-term matter, I think that there's been a fundamental shift on Wall Street, and that is no longer going to be able to promise or deliver on the kind of riches that it was so easily made promises about in the past. And so Wall Street needs to change the way it works. It needs to change significantly the way it rewards people if it still wants to attract the best and the brightest. And frankly, it has to improve working conditions. I mean, I spent 17 years on Wall Street. It was never very pleasant. I used to say it was good one day a year, the day you got your bonus. And, that's not an acceptable way for people to work. So there's 365 days in a year, and on the 364 other days, they need to make Wall Street a better working environment. And it's not particularly good for women. It's not good for minorities. It's still an old boys club, and that frankly needs to change and change rapidly, or else it's not going to be relevant anymore. No, everybody will be relieved to know that my next book is about a institute of private education here in the U.S., an elite private university, and trying to get inside and understand how this kind of an organization works. I don't think it's much different than Goldman Sachs, but people on Wall Street don't have to worry.